Yes, and I'll tell you the biggest mistake that most people make, and it was true of me when I first became a franchisee, is they focus on the widget. Focus
Yes.
on the product or service
Mhm.
that the business is delivering to customers, and that's the last thing you should be looking at. What you need to be looking at is, what is the franchisee's role? And what am I going to be doing if I become a franchisee in this business? Because in a lot of franchise businesses, you're not the one delivering the product or the service. So what difference does it make what that product or service is? But on the other hand, if you say, I don't want to supervise a whole bunch of minimum wage employees that turn over all the time, it eliminates about 70% of all franchise businesses
Right.
right there. If you say, I don't want to work any nights or weekends, perfectly reasonable request. That
Yeah.
eliminates a whole lot of other ones. That's what we really do with people. We ask questions that allow us to narrow down very rapidly. And he spent 8 years building a company called Great Clips, the haircutting place. I'll tell you, there wasn't a single franchisee in that entire 8 years that woke up one morning thinking, gee, I got to get in the haircutting business. Wasn't that way at all. What would attract them was the lifestyle of the franchisees who had been in that business, say 3 years or longer. They were all multi-unit owners. They all had managers. They were supervising the managers. They weren't cutting hair. They weren't in the salons on a regular basis. It was an executive franchise. And when people understood that, then all of a sudden a business that maybe was completely unattractive to them initially becomes very attractive when they look carefully at the franchisee role. And that's true
Yeah.
of so many that I think you need to be focused on, okay, what does a successful franchisee do on a day-to-day basis? And, I suited for that role. Does that sound attractive to me?
Right.
Rather than focusing on the actual product or service of the business.
Yeah, and I think most of us did that. As you mentioned, you were in the same boat, and I'm looking at the exact same thing, and you just get super excited. And I always tell someone, if you want to be in the sandwich business, you can run your business and buy all the sandwiches you want if you're truly passionate about sandwiches. I'm in Jersey Mike's land. I live in the same town, the first Jersey Mike's. Got to meet family and friends that I grew up with the founder, and it was really interesting to hear his story. And going back to the widget, you'll notice that a lot of brands, your role is going to be very similar. You're not actually installing the roof or cleaning the porta potty or painting anything in a painting franchise. Start to look at, I kind of do it in two different levels or layers, we'll call it. The first layer is getting the business up and running. You may be wearing all hats to learn the business, get it up and running, but really figuring out 6 to 12 months out, what is that role in the business? The team's in place. You've that learning curve. You learn the business. You understand it, especially if you've never owned the franchise or any business before. What does that role look like 6 to 12 months out? And that'll really help. And that's part of validation, getting to speak with franchisees and hearing directly from the franchise owner exactly what's an average day in a life, maybe when you started to where you are today. And that's super helpful. So not only are you hearing it from the franchisor, but you're getting to hear it from the franchisee. So a very important part about the widget, because that is an area a lot of people just kind of, they get super excited and then they go, okay, what do you have in this specific space? Or maybe it's a misconception, right? Maybe you think you have to have experience. Do you have to have experience in the franchise itself, or is it something else?
It depends on the franchise.
Mm.
For the most part, the answer is no.
Yeah.
What franchisors are doing is that they've got a business model that they know if people execute that business model effectively, they will be successful. That's the foundational approach of franchising it. And what they've also developed then is a methodology to take someone who doesn't know that business and bring them in a relatively short period of time, train them in how to set up and run that business effectively so that if the people just follow the system,
Right.
do what the franchisor tells them, they will be successful most all the time. That's two different skills. First, you have to
Yeah.
have the skill to operate the business effectively. And this is the path that most franchisors follow. They maybe open the first 4, 5, 6 units of whatever their business is themselves. They run it very successfully and it's doing well. But then at that point, they realize they need somebody else's money or management experience or something to help grow the business further. So they turn to franchising to do that. Then they have to develop a second skill that's even more important than being able to operate the business effectively. They have to develop a skill to take somebody who doesn't know beans about that business and train them in a fairly short period of time to be able to effectively run it. And those are two different things. Quite often, you'll see people who are very successful operators who are not very successful franchisors
Mhm.
because of that. And that's another reason that there's a lot less risk in a franchise if they've got a track record and they've proven that they can take people like me and put them in business and make them successful.
I like that. We call it a business on training wheels. That's something when someone they want a comparison, I go, that's really one of the best It's you have that support, and that's what you're really getting in. You want that support, that anything you have any questions, have any issues, that you have that go to someone to contact to help you out. One last question on that. So, what do you think? And not every franchisee is going to be successful. So, what do you think is the main cause for people maybe not to do so well in their franchise? This is from the franchisee standpoint.
If you investigate the franchise opportunities carefully and ensure that they do have a track record of success of being able to help people, then if you don't succeed, it's almost always because you decided not to follow the system that the franchisor laid out for you.
Following the system is paramount. But who should you trust to guide you on this journey from the very beginning? In the full How to Build a Franchise That Lasts Generations episode, we bring it all together by discussing the final piece: choosing your advisors wisely. Click here to watch the full episode now.